Hello, my name is Janis, and in this video I'm going to talk about one ultimate belief that has caused tremendous amounts of damage and suffering in this world. And I'm going to share in this video a 3-step process that you can apply in your life in order to start healing the damage of this belief. And this is exactly where it all begins, your healing and journey to a better life. So what is this belief? If you thought to yourself, low self-worth, then you guessed right. That's it. This belief is something that you can describe as collective trauma, because all humanity is facing it and is experiencing its consequences. I'm also speaking from my own life experience, and I can look back and say that it very negatively impacted my relationship. It very strongly affected my financial aspect of life. It also impacted my health and also my overall well-being. So it basically covered all of my life and it infiltrated all my life. And it's not just me. I'm also observing that in other people. Yeah. So this belief of low self-worth that can sometimes always be described with closely related words such as low self-esteem, unworthy, feeling of lack, not enough, incomplete, not whole, not deserving, not lovable. You get it, yeah. This belief is creating This belief is creating negative habits in our life. It determines our behavior, which is harmful to us and to others in many ways. It creates negative thoughts, stories about ourselves, how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we relate to the world. And so thoughts also create emotions, negative emotions that make us feel bad, and these emotions feed back to the negative thoughts. So we are in a negative vicious circle, and it's very difficult to get out of it if there is not a very strong awareness about what's happening in your life. And it can be difficult to spot that, because if we have been living for quite some time under this belief and its negative impact, this belief can easily penetrate, as I said, different parts of our life. And no matter if we live in great suffering or unease, anxiety, stress, etc., it's familiar to us. It's a comfort zone. So it seems normal. And it can be very difficult for us to see that. It's almost like this normality of low self-worth hypnotizes us and makes us blind. And it can be very difficult to see it in our own lives. There are, of course, many, many signs that indicate in our life, in different situations that we experience, that indicate that we are being influenced by this negative belief in this present moment. Well, for example, if it's difficult to ask for adequate energy exchange back, meaning that you give more than you receive back, that's an indicator. Another indicator is that you're very fearful of confronting others and defending yourself. You please others, and it's difficult for you to express yourself the way you would really want to. Another one is that you're very full of self-doubt, doubting your abilities, that you can offer any value to the world, to the others. You're very anxious about taking new risks, trying something new. That also. And also, you might be very controlling in relationships, very attached to a certain outcome, trying others to change so they would meet your expectations. That is another one. You might feel envy or jealousy towards others, their accomplishments. You might want to diminish or downplay them, and not just other people's accomplishments, your own as well. So that is another indicator that this belief is right now present and active inside me. Okay, there are many, many more signs. One more thing that I want to add before we move to the 3-phase process is that low self-worth directly impacts our own inner self-image, how we view ourselves, how we perceive ourselves, how we feel about ourselves. So if we view ourselves as worthless and feel bad about ourselves, we feel shame and guilt, then that directly affects our choices, attitudes, behaviors, inclinations. So our inner belief, our self-image reflects back in large proportion our external reality, our own manifested, attracted and created conditions in our life. And if we are not aware, we continue to recreate them. The good news is that if this inner belief of ours reflects back our external reality, then through life situations, which is external reality, we can receive feedback. And feedback is always available to us in the now, in this moment. And we can start to really see if the situation is bad or perceived as bad, or conditions are terrible, then that indicates that you view yourself in a negative way that has attracted this external situation. How do we heal this belief? Step one is what I call awareness and becoming witness or observer. And awareness, in my own experience, does not mean that it's enough to know intellectually with my mind and even accept that idea. That's not enough. Awareness means truly, truly deep, shocking, insightful realizations. Again, in my experience, that life-altering, yeah. And in my experience, I gain such strong realizations through life-altering events, or as sometimes they are called, life catalysts or disruptors. In nature, they can be seen on a surface level as something very negative, very devastating, destroying potentially your old life structures, your old life. And so in the moment it can be seen as great tragedy. But they are actually here to aid us and guide us. Life always, as I said, gives us constant feedback. And if we are not paying attention to it, at the beginning it tries to get our attention like this. Okay, we don't listen, then stronger. Don't listen, then the hammer. Then don't listen. Okay, then it brings the heavy cavalry, and usually then it gets your attention quite well. So that's how catalysts, disruptors work. When we in our life path or our development are somewhere off the track and there needs to be a correction, then these catalysts come in as help. And it was also my case, multiple occasions. And especially in the case of like awakening and seeing that low self-worth had really destroyed my life before. So it was incredibly shocking to me. And such catalyst allowed me to really start see myself honestly, and it forced me out of the old way, or doing the things in the old way, and start really looking what's going on, why did this happen. I was able to finally start to connect the dots see the patterns, the connection between my inner self-image and my external reality, and see all my actions, how they led to consequences. And allowed me to see what I did not want to accept before, because I was too distracted. And the key embracing catalysts is of course our acceptance. And at first we might be very resistant to the change. We might try to avoid it, deny it, not accept it. But in this way we only delay our further development. So acceptance is very important in order for us to really pay attention what this particular life altering event is highlighting us, for us. What is the lesson that we need to learn? And the faster we accept this, the faster we can start to move on and heal the cause, what's behind it, what caused that. Step one in healing is awareness and becoming witnessing your own emotions. Suppressed ones might come up. Witnessing your thoughts, your reactions, attitudes towards this situation or the present moment, towards yourself. And this witness phase might take quite a while before you are ready to move on to the next step. Because you might feel a wave of suppressed emotions or bursting out like a volcano. And it might be too overwhelming for you at first. Imagine if some things come up that you did not want to see. I mean, it can be extremely shocking and frightening, because you neglected them for so long. And if you are not really participating as witness and want to rush to the next step, then that would give you even more harm than benefit, because that's suppression and distraction. And that would eventually create even more resistance inside you, which can backfire even in a more damaging way. So the step one is awareness and witness. I'm saying it's step one, but that doesn't mean that this phase stops or ends, because it does not. I mean, we always have to be present and aware what's going within us. So the more we are able to be aware about ourselves, about our thoughts, about our emotions, feelings, attitudes, habits, the more we will succeed. And my invitation to you is to really get curious about yourself, explore yourself. Why such and such feelings arises now? What's behind them? What kind of thought or story or belief or maybe even memory? So now we have come to the second step, which is remembering and reviewing your own past. Painful past events, and letting go of the old meaning that was attached to these events, which were perceived as traumatic to you. So this step is about tracing back your feelings of low self-worth, unworthiness, maybe not wanted, not good enough. Trace these feelings back to your memories, past events and situations. And again, this can happen a long time. I mean, this can take quite some time. So forcing won't do any good. And it might take time until you are ready to open up, consciousness is ready to open up and start sharing some of those painful old memories with you. And at first you might start to remember the most recent cases that caused very painful or negative feelings inside you and made you to think very bad thoughts about yourself in a low self-worth way. So when you start to remember moment by moment, event by event, you start to uncover these memories, and these memories contain this negative energy field that you have been carrying inside you, probably for years, since you were a very small child. And when the memory comes up, it is very important to pay attention to your thoughts, to your emotions, and also your own reactions, attitudes towards the memory and situation that is contained in this memory. Maybe there's a judgment about yourself, or maybe there is anger. What happened to you back then? Or anger towards some other people involved that did something to you. Allow yourself to remember as much as possible. And if it feels difficult for you, then you can visualize that you have a friend who is next to you, or even you can physically invite someone that you trust with this process. So allow yourself to remember as fully as possible what happened. How did you react? How did you view your own behavior back then? Yourself. What thoughts did you think about yourself? And how did you felt about yourself? Observe with loving presence, like this loving presence is a loving parent or a wise friend, nurturing, not judging, allowing to be all. Be there for that younger presence of you, even if it was a couple of months ago or a couple of years ago. You were still less experienced than now. What does this younger version of you needs in this situation that you remember? Maybe a hug. Maybe he or she needs to cry out loud and needs a supporting shoulder. Maybe this younger version wants to tell you something, or maybe it wants to hear something from you, an encouragement, an explanation of situation, explanation of other people's behavior towards your younger version. Why did they do that? An insight. A loving touch. Nurture this version. And if you remember something painful that happened to you, almost always the insight will come to you that if other persons were involved, that their actions reflected their own low self-worth, and they did not know how to do things differently. So sit with yourself like this for a while until you feel then that it's done, and then you can return back. When you come back, you can of course give some loving gestures to your younger version. Say that you are always there for him or her. And the question when you have come back is, do you see this situation that you just reviewed in a different manner now? Do you see the reasons behind other people's maybe painful behavior towards you? Do you see that the other people involved were just as feeling unworthy as you at that moment, or other ways? And the key is here to be able to reframe this old past event and give it a different meaning. And in this way you can start to let go and view it in a different light, and view yourself that whatever happened to you, it was never because of you, or it was never personal. It was always because the other people involved felt insecure. They did not know better. And you might need to revisit and review one specific memory or situation more than once, multiple times. That is fine. If it comes up again and again, don't push it away. Talk with your younger version and observe what feelings and again thoughts come about it. So it might need more than once healing. Be patient. This second step is very important before you move on to the next step, number 3. You have to incorporate this before you can start applying the third step. And this third step is choosing and embodying new behavior. When you wire in new habits through repetition, over time the old habits can start to dissolve. And it is important when you let go of the old to wire in the new one, because if you make a space for something new but you don't fill in anything, then the old can slowly creep back, because the negative momentum, the negative pattern or habit was before there. So it's very important also to wire in new habits, not just get rid of the old and do nothing. So the exercise in step 3 is quite simple. It's based on self-inquiry, or simply a few questions, such as, what would your worthy version of you, or version with high value, do differently in your daily life? What new choices would this version try out? Maybe a new habit, a different approach. What would this version of new you, worthy you, allow you to experience that previously you denied yourself? Or how would this version of worthy you like to express? What would it like to say? Start small. You can start 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 things, and start wiring them in your daily life. Build momentum, positive momentum. Start with small and repeat them day by day. And the more you do it, the more you will see that it will grow in a cumulative momentum, and then it will be easier for you to apply even bigger or more ambitious things in your life. And in this phase or step, when you are wiring in new behavior in your life, new attitudes, thoughts, etc., and starting to view yourself differently in a more positive way, when you're trying a new approach, what can happen is trying this new thing can trigger the old pattern or old belief of unworthy you, or old sets of old sets of beliefs, thoughts, emotions, feelings that are related to the old self-image of unworthy you, and it is a form of resistance to the new that you want to create, that you want to recreate yourself. Old simply is trying to survive. And what you do is you do not push them away. You acknowledge, okay? Because if you push, that again means suppression. And suppression creates more tension and resistance, which can blow up in one unexpected moment. So just bombing yourself with positive affirmations won't do the work. This is why you see the going back to past is very healthy thing to do. So when the old sets of thoughts, feelings come up, when you try a new thing, try to be as present as possible, see where they're coming from, and the more you do it, the faster you'll be able to trace them back and see that, the old program is desperately trying to have renew its grip upon me. Okay. Then you see it, and you continue with your new behavior. And repetition is very important to form new habits, to form new self-identity and new positive momentum. And when you continue to do this, you might feel some friction, not some friction, but some days you might feel that it's more anxiety inside you than others. That might signal that it's time that you are again ready to review some of the old painful past events and heal them. So this is a 3-step process, and yes, I wish you good luck with this, and I'll see you in next videos.